Hello YouTube, this is Sam Gerrans from muqaṭṭaʿāt.com. Today is Sunday the 22nd of September 2019. I'm out for my daily constitutional walk. It's autumn here, so you can feel winter in the air. But anyway, what I want to talk about today is fasting, what I've learnt, and just share some of the things I've learnt about it over the last couple of years, because fasting has become more important to me. And the reason is because it, as we know in the Quran, and that fasting is made incumbent upon us as it was upon those before us. And I don't want to talk about, the technicalities of when you should fast and all this sort of thing. I just want to talk about fasting in general. Fasting is a huge benefit, and it's a huge benefit because it draws you closer to God. And so that's why, and I've just seen the benefit of it in my own life, physically to some extent, but also from the point of view of just being closer, and that seeing closer to the things that are actually important, because hunger puts things in perspective and opens up a wellspring of inner vision, if you want to call it that. But let's be honest about it. Fasting in this day and age is tough, and it's tougher than it's ever been before. And the reason it is tough is because food is weaponized, and I want to sort of work through some of that. If you eat a modern American standard diet or Western standard diet and you try to fast, it's going to be like trying to do 2 or 3 fasts at once. And if you're not used to it, it can be very discouraging to the point of depressing, and it gets that way really quickly. The food is not what we should be eating in the majority of cases. I mean, some people understand that and they've made adjustments, but most people, if they eat what most people eat, are addicted. They're not eating because they're hungry. They're eating because they're having withdrawals, and that's just the fact of it. So, going to my experience, if people who follow my channel a lot will know that at some point I had a health issue which has been solved, thank God, to a very large extent anyway, but by various means. But one of the things which changed after that was my relationship with food. I've never been a huge eater or anything like that, but the first thing that happened was I gave up sugar. And when I say sugar, I don't just mean adding sugar to food, I mean sugar in anything. So I understand that they've done experiments with rats where they've got rats addicted to sugar and cocaine, and then put them in a situation where they could have one or the other, and they chose sugar. Sugar is highly addictive, and I'm not just talking here about white sugar. I mean any form of sugar that doesn't naturally occur in food. I can honestly say that I don't miss sugar. I mean, I haven't knowingly eaten anything with sugar in it for 14 months, something like that. And it was tough, but it made a huge difference. And it's a form of freedom, not being addicted to it. And what I'm trying to say is, if you are addicted to it and then you try to fast, you can do it, but by the end of the evening, you're going to be absolutely strung out. And what I've seen a lot of people do is that they fast according to whatever system, whatever they've been told, and they follow that. But by the end of the day, they're exhausted, and their body is crying out for sugar, and then they just stuff themselves. And so what it turns out as is so you haven't eaten for the day, but you've had 3 meals for supper. That's not really fasting. I'm just going to show you some of this, because people think Russia is it's all horrible. It's pretty nice, isn't it? It's not all like this, obviously. So I would say, and I'm going to link, if I can find it, to a video by Sayyid Mirza, because he's covered a lot of that there. So what I would say is, if you are planning to fast, and for your fast to mean something to you, then get your body free of sugar first. And it's going to hurt, because it's an addiction. So expect it to hurt. It's going to take, I don't know, 6 weeks, something like that. You'll feel depressed, you'll feel down, you'll feel strung out. Just stop eating sugar. That's a fast right there. Once you've got that one under your belt, and honestly, I found it once I'd done that, it just made things so much easier. The next thing you've got to get out of your system is coffee, or coffee and tea. I can tell you how I gave up coffee, and I wasn't a huge coffee drinker. It wasn't like I was drinking 10 cups a day or anything like that. I drank 1 cup a day, but I did drink it every day, and I drank a big cup, and I just couldn't justify it to myself financially. Also, just the effect that coffee has on people, it really makes them debilitated, or it can affect certain people in that way. Also, look at the culture. It's in everything. Have a cup of coffee. You know, the two detectives got to pull an all-nighter. We'll sit and have coffee. No, you sit and have coffee, you're going to be strung out and irrational if you drink a lot of coffee. Although, maybe it's American coffee, maybe it's not so strong. But European coffee, if you drink a large cup of that, you're going to be wired for some time, and then you're going to crash. And what it's doing is, I'm not giving you nutritional advice, but I'm just saying that if you are a coffee drinker, it's going to inhibit your ability to fast, because you're not just fasting from food, you're coming off a drug. And so I would say get that drug out of the way first. And the way I gave up coffee, the way I did it was, I stopped drinking coffee, and I drank green tea for a while, which kind of took the edge off the caffeine withdrawal. And I used, in Russian it's called citramon, it's caffeine tablets. And then I which meant I could control the dose. And then I didn't particularly like the green tea, so I drank less and less of that. And I was eating that, taking two citramon a day. And then over a couple of weeks, I brought it down. I tapered it off and cut it down by quarters, I think, until eventually I was just taking a quarter of one a day. And then I just forgot about it, I think. But it took about 6 weeks. Coffee's it's a drug. And that's why there are so many coffee shops everywhere, because they want you addicted to this stuff. If you have as many masters as you have vices. And so, should bear that in mind. So, anyway, that was that one. The next one is wheat and yeast and, bread, basically, unless it's unleavened bread. The yeast, and I'm talking here from a position of just inherited knowledge, because my wife is the person who deals with all this, but I've just seen the benefit. I haven't eaten bread. I haven't eaten white bread for years, but even brown bread, and I'm talking about Russian brown bread, which is by Western standards, it's excellent. It's the stuff you get in the West, it's not bread, unless it's in an organic shop of a particular kind. It's terrible for you. But yeast and wheat and all that's what's making you fat. That's what's giving you what I call married tummy, pasta, all of these things. I don't now eat any of those things. So I know this isn't really a channel about diet exactly, but if you can get rid of those 3 things, I would treat those as your fasts to start with, because that's enough. Just getting rid of coffee, just getting rid of sugar, and I do mean all sugar, and then getting rid of all the wheat products. If you can get rid of those 3 things and drink water and purify your system to some extent, then when you fast, you've only got 1 fast instead of 4. So that's what I would just share from my own experience. It also means that when you get to the end of the day of fasting, by whatever method you fast, you drink water, and maybe drink whatever it is, water with lemon or something. You're not going to be screaming for all these other things. And if you decide to go beyond the structure of just not eating in the daytime, you wish to, fast in a more thorough way, you can continue, for much longer. It becomes much easier and more pleasurable, and you get to the blessings of it much, much quicker. I'm going to link below, excuse me, to a documentary about fasting, which, not all of which I completely agree with, but some of which is set in Russia, and which was purely a coincidence, but it's in English, it's got English subtitles and English overdub, which you may find interesting about the benefits of fasting from a quote-unquote scientific point of view. It includes footage from Germany and the States as well. I will just say that what it deals with in the States rather presupposes that chemotherapy is of any benefit whatsoever. I'm going to say that I would like to pass on judgment on that one. But the benefits of fasting have been known, and what this video is really about is how to get to those benefits, how to get to the benefits of fasting, because I think it's something that a lot of people experience. They don't like to say it because they feel like fasting should be wonderful, but fasting isn't wonderful for them because they're actually going through withdrawals from weaponized substances that they confuse with food, and they think that that's fasting. Of course, fasting's tough. In any case, fasting is tough. There's no question about it. But it's a different kind of thing if you're just fighting one battle instead of 4 at a time. I just wanted to share that. Another aspect of fasting that I'd like to mention is to do with isn't to do exactly with food, but it's related. It's to do with controlling your eyes. I speak to men. My audience is men. My audience is about 92% men. You know what I'm talking about, guys. You just do. So it's a habit, and obviously we're bombarded from every quarter now. But if you can get into the habit, and it is a habit of controlling your eyes. I mean, obviously you're not going to walk into lampposts and stuff, but you're responsible for what you look at, and these vixens out there, they're drawing you in. I think in Christianity they would call it like a Jezebel spirit, and they know what they're doing. They know they're messing with your head. They're not lawful to you anyway, and they'd only drag you to hell. So just think of it in those terms. But if you can get out of the habit of allowing your mind to be drawn in a sensuous direction, that will help with fasting, because these things are related. And I learned this many years ago, before I did what I'm doing now, when I lived a very different life. And I was in Moscow, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, something like that. I can't remember, a long time ago. And I had a bottle of champagne in the fridge that had been half drunk, and so I put the cork back into this thing, and I went back to the fridge. I can't remember, in the morning or something. I can't remember, but I opened this bottle, and this cork went bang straight into my face, straight into my eye, and gave me a great big black eye, and it also made my eye red, bloodshot. I mean, really bloodshot. I think people say, what happened to you? And you explain, they go, yeah, sure it did. You opened a bottle of champagne into your face. Anyway, the reason I'm telling this story is because for whatever it was, about a month afterwards, I was very self-conscious of this, and so I controlled my eyes. And so being in the Moscow metro, which in the 90s, perhaps it was that long ago, you get to my age, time starts to fly by. I think it must have been the late 90s, so that's 20 years ago. The metro then was a cesspit, and however, I wasn't looking at anybody because I was conscious of how my face and my eye looked. So I kept my eyes down for about, whatever it was, a month or something. And I noticed this inner vision opening up, new strength. So understand, we're living in a war, and all of these things are directed against strong men, against men who can make a difference. And all of the, I mean, perhaps I'll address the pornography thing in another video, but if you want to benefit your fasting, then learn to control that as well, because these things are related. And when you are fasting, make sure that that's a priority, that you're not, that you're controlling your thoughts over that period. This is for you, you see, this is for us, this is a benefit to us, this is medicine, this spiritual medicine, and it's free, and it can change your life. So that's why the whole system is just designed to fight against it. And that's all for now. If you're listening on YouTube, you can download my full translation of the Quran free using the button in the top right hand corner, or buy the hard copy there at 10% less than on Amazon. I also encourage you to sign up for the Qur'anite Plus newsletter on the site to get occasional micro updates. You can download the audio from my YouTube videos to your mobile device using the links in the drop down below. I recommend meetquranites.com to connect with other Quran alone believers. Like if you like, comment if you have something constructive to say, and subscribe to get more each week. And use the link in the drop down below to donate if you would like to help me keep doing this. And remember, this life is short, eternity is long. If you want good trees, plant good seeds.